actually, my friends and I were having this debate regarding housing and how there's this dichotomy or like this friction between the need for immigration, but also the fact that we're not able to build enough houses for even what we have right now. What are your guys' takes on immigration? Let's start with the culture side of it. Do you think immigration affects culture? Affects with an A, meaning negatively? Yes or no?
I think we're at the point now where if you say the public funding, we are allowing too much immigration based on the amount of public funding we have for support, right? You come off, people may think that's a racist comment. But my parents emigrated here. They went from Trinidad to the UK, emigrated here in the 60s. And obviously the population was a lot less back then. There were less programs that had to be funded, much less.
Yeah.
But that's also a symbol of the progression we've made as a society in recognizing other issues that need public funding to deal with, right?
True.
But because there's a limited amount of money every year that comes into our system, largely through income tax, whether it's corporate or personal, and that money has to be doled out, right? When you have a situation where you're still allowing or you still have programs in place that allows the same amount of people to immigrate to the country, into Canada, without having that funding model of being able to support that immigration, we have an issue. What's happening right now? It's right in the news. People are sleeping on cots. People are sleeping in buses, I saw on the news last month, right? Only because it's summertime. And I mean, those are extreme examples, but we don't have the systems in place. Part of that is funding, because there's way more, fingers in the pie, right, for other things that need funding in Canada, as opposed to back in the 60s, right?
So you're saying it's not working at scale? That's what you're saying.
It's not
given the way our infrastructure is set up socially for social safety nets and programs and whatnot. What about culturally? Do you guys think immigration affects culture, makes it better, makes it worse, doesn't have any effect?
Well, I think it makes it better. I mean, look, if you live in Toronto, it's a multicultural, it's a melting pot, right? And yes, there are frictions. There are unavoidable frictions because we're human, right? And humans are fallible. Humans have weaknesses, right? But at the end of the day, I think on the balance, you have a much better society because you have a diversity of viewpoints, a diversity of thinking that when at the end of the day, it can only make a culture stronger. Now, one of the situation we're in right now in terms of the arc of human history is there's a lot of strife because there's a lot of global migration going on right now that started, maybe 10, 15 years ago, for whatever reason, wars, famine, whatever reason, right? And we are right now in that arc of human history where we're on the newer end of that experience. And there's a lot of tension and friction right now because it's a lot of unknown.
Yeah.
It's a lot of quote unquote the other.
Okay,
right?
Let's use this example, right? I grew up in Brampton, right? Which many of you guys know, again, very huge South Asian community. But still, we had streets like Peter Robertson Road, okay? The road, does anyone know what that road is called now? Guru Nanak Drive, okay? And it caused major uproar in the community. With people who had been there for God knows how long, but to them that affected them. So the gripe, I'm just because look, I think everyone here is from a minority group, first generation, second generation, I'm guessing, right? So maybe we don't have the best viewpoint. I'm going to tell you the gripe that when I dig into that part of the internet, the gripe is, where's our language going? Where's our culture going? The country doesn't look the same. Look at the way they drive. Look at the way they dress. So
if you're living in North America, this land belonged to Indigenous people.
Exactly.
So that argument is shocking and appalling and stupid because this land did not belong to colonizers.
Right.
Colonizers came and they colonized, full stop. Then my second point to that thought is that why do we call it immigration when if I went to Turks and Caicos, Jamaica, Guyana, other countries, I'm an expat? Why are they not called immigrants? Why are they not immigrants to those countries? And
I always wonder that, actually.
And well, it's always financial. Everything is about money, right? Well, not everything, but a lot of things are about money. So this is I'm not going to, I tend not to speak too much political stuff, but I will say I find it fascinating that when people say, well, we are losing our culture and they're not speaking our language. Well, none of us speak none of us speak any of the indigenous languages.
It's just ignorance to history. It's ignorance to history.
But it is. And so when I hear that, I'm thinking, because our kids, this generation of children, and even when some of us were in school, we learned that this land was here and there was indigenous people here and people came. And the storyline is that, they discovered, no, they didn't. It was here. It was here. It was always here. And I will stand on the hill of the fact that the word immigration versus the word expat, words have meaning. And because we get stuck on the word immigration, it always comes with a negative connotation because, well, people from Pakistan or people from India or people from Jamaica or people from Trinidad or people from somewhere, they immigrated to this country. How come they can't be expats to this country? Because they're valuable members of society, they're paying taxes. How come they can't be expats? But how come somebody from here or another part of North America or the UK can go over to the same countries and they're considered expats?
I've actually never known that distinction.
Right? Think about that. And I'm going to just leave it like that because that is a marked thinking. And when you think about that, then you have to totally go, well, what do you, too much immigration? Really?
It's just a fallacy. Look, it's just a fallacy. When people say Canadian culture, you ask them what do you actually mean?
But
they don't actually have an answer because
exactly.
Look, there's comedians like Nima. He's very famous. I don't know if you guys know him. He's on Instagram. What does he do? I'm going to pretend to be a guy from Barrie. I'm going to pretend to be a guy from Hamilton. There's subculture. And within even subcultures, there's subcultures. There's nothing homogenized. And for people who have that worry, that other ignorant side you want to say, this is where laws of the land is. In America, they have this thing called HOAs. You guys know what those are? You can be driving down a street and you're like, damn, it's a nice community. The grass is all cut. Their garbage bins are, parallel, whatever. It just looks nice. And you go on another street. One guy's grass is up to here. One guy has a pumpkin. It's the middle of July. Halloween's been done for a month. And so you'd say this place is unkept. Like, what's going on here? So this is where you can, if you really want, what does Quebec do? They want to kind of maintain what they consider to be their native culture, which is the French, because they were, French colonizers were there. So what do? They, put the street signs. It's got to be rue. It's got to have the French and the English. Okay, so the laws of the land will dictate your macro level culture. But at the end of the day, micro level culture is what matters. And anyone who's ignorant enough to have this idea of, you're ruining my culture, just read history. First of all, most cultures were inherited through conquer. Then there's feudalistic society. And that, what really is culture? If you're worried about language, if you're worried about dress code or any of those things, you're ignorant, and B, really, if the people really want that and that's really what matters, you'll see that in the laws, right?
People being scared of change.
Yeah, I think the perspective too, I think if you ask me what our culture is, I'm like, it's a mix of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Right. It's like the Danforth, it's George Street, it's a mix of stuff. Like one of my favorite restaurants is Patois. It's Jamaican Asian fusion.
Whoa.
Like I jerk chicken fried rice all day. So for me, our culture isn't just a culture from, I don't know, a European descent. It's a mix. And this is what makes our country great, is that I don't think it's a melting pot per se, but I think we embrace the fact that, hey, we can go get different types of food. We can get Ethiopian food on a Friday night, and Sunday night we can go to an Indian restaurant. I think our culture is actually not just one thing. I think it's a mix of different cultures. I think the other point you made earlier, though, I think talking about immigration isn't too much. I think the reality is we don't have a high enough natural birth rate to sort of keep things going. And the reality is that, I think the economic immigrant, right, is where you're looking at bringing immigrants in who can add value
to GDP.
For week one, right?
Right.
But what happens is you have a mix of things, and you get, I think the idea is a bit of like a private equity return. You have a bit of a J curve. You have a little bit of a dip, and then what you're hoping is that these people start working and they're taxed.
Yep.
And that comes up, right? And then you're actually increasing your tax revenue, right, over the long term, right? So I think that it is important to have immigration. I think the culture of the country, I think today it's a mix, and it's nice to have that, you know? So.
How many people live in Canada? 30 million?
Yeah.
Okay, how many people live in Texas? 30 million. How many people live in California? 30 million.
Right.
We have no market share.
Right.
Then the problem is, well, we can't house them. Then they need to, then that's a separate issue.
Yes.
Canada, for like, if you're hungry and you want to have a business, you want to have a market, I feel like Canada is like a dead end. So I think we need immigration economically.
Yeah.
Like you said, I don't know what better.
Yeah,
what the
nobody's
best
saying we
model
don't
is.
need immigration.
Yeah.
But what is the critical mix of immigration that provides the balance of positives?
That,
Right.
I think is where you make relationships with government. I think, if, for example, a relationship with India regarding immigration, I think we actually earn economic benefits for every immigrant we bring from India. It's like almost like they're paying to allow us to basically to have this relationship with students. I heard specifically. So I think there are benefits, but this idea of immigration from an economic, there's probably debate, and I'm not the one best suited. But immigration for fear of identity, and like the example Z was talking about, you come to Canada, you just flash to the future, and you come to Canada and you don't. Well, Canada's already a melting pot, so it won't work. But let's go to Jamaica. Let's go to Egypt. You go there and they're not speaking the language you're used to. Their music is different. The food is completely different. And you talk to them like, hey, what are you doing? This is not, Jamaica, or this is not Egypt. They're like, what are you talking about? This is it. What are you talking about? How would you feel? You'd feel probably just a loss of identity.
I think the difference though is like the history behind Egypt is very different than the history of Canada,
Yeah.
right? And I think like my sort of reaction to the person who's like, I'm losing my identity. I think you got to like flip your lens, and it's like it's a mix of people. So when you see someone of a different ethnicity, like there's no reason why you can't be like, yeah, that I'm looking in the mirror because this person is a go-getter. They work hard. They're a great family person. They're a great dad or great mom, great brother, great. Like, it's not about the skin color, right? It's not about what food you eat or how you dress. It's like, I think if that person stepped back and actually sat down with someone from a different ethnicity,
Break bread.
they'd be like, you know what? Yeah, break bread. And be like, you know what? I have a lot more in common with you than I realized.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have to get over it. You just have to I'm telling you, if you
And that's
feel a
what I'm
loss
saying.
of identity,
Flip
get over
the
it, have
lens.
more kids. That's the answer. Get over it, no, for real. You want to win, have more kids. What is the average couple in North America has not even, I think it's like 1.8 kids. You go to countries where you see a lot of this immigration, they're like 2.9, 3 point something. Okay, so ultimately that's what's going to happen. You want to propagate your culture, start making babies. I mean, that's really what it is.
Such a weird conversation.
I don't want those people. I don't want those people to.
No, I'll just. It's always like, why is the onus on people? Why is the onus on people who have come to another country to defend their right to be there, and that no, you're not losing your culture, you're gaining another one. Why does it matter?
Because people care.
No. I get it. I mean, it was a bit facetious, but it's like, if people are coming here, like the laws of the world are that where there's people and people decide to get together and produce people and other humans, things will change.
Yeah.
That's just the law of animals do it, humans do it. So again, I go back to this whole idea of economics and immigration versus expats, because I promise you, language matters. We say things in certain ways and we couch it as a certain way of thinking, but basically we're on stolen land. We've been raised on this land. We've been fortunate that our parents were allowed to come to this country when really and truly it wasn't the people that let them come in it wasn't theirs to give.
Of course, yeah.
So you see what I'm saying?
You don't pick where you're born.
And because there's so much historical, like you can dig through all that. It's like, I find it offensive almost when people say, well, who is we? And I'm not being rude, but who is we are losing our culture? We live in a place where we are so blessed to be able to be around people that are different than us and that are showing us different parts of humanity and of life. Full stop. That's it. So as soon as we start saying, well, in a couple of years, there's not going to be this body of people or this body of people. Okay.
Yeah, get over it. That's what I'm saying. Just get over it.
Because you know what? We're hopefully we're trying to do better than we did in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we're not going to enslave people anymore. Hopefully we're not going to judge people and make them domestics. And hopefully, like, you know what I mean? It's like, come on. Anyways, I'm done.
I think to your earlier point, for the person making that comment, it's like, look to the history,
That's what I'm saying.
right? Like the immigrants are coming, like they're being, essentially invited to come, as
Absolutely.
opposed to coming uninvited,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and,
Right,
take,
right.
and taking,
Right,
right?
right.
Like what's not theirs, but look to the history, right?
Yeah, you study history, you realize all this is a fallacy.